Alright, so Subnautica 2 drops in a few days, and if y'all know anything about my gaming past, Subnautica has been one of my most favorite games to ever release. Most definitely my favorite survival game, and I've probably beaten Subnautica more times than any other game in my life. Getting every achievement on both the Steam versions, and also on the PS5 versions. Shout out to the video that I made on that forever ago now. But also in that video, I really didn't play much of the OG Subnautica because I had it pretty much all completed already. It's a long story. So today I decided to download the PS4 version of Subnautica and platinum it, getting every single trophy totaling up to 18 including the platinum, taking me about 14 hours to finish, and it's safe to say I'm ready for Subnautica 2, baby. Anyways, kicking off Subnautica, if you don't already know the game's premise, you crash land on an alien planet from an escape pod after our ship, the Aurora, had issues and also crashed on this planet. After waking up from the crash, the entire thing is on fire, so we have to put that out, obviously, because dying from fire on a planet full of water is honestly sad. I would much rather get eaten by a Leviathan. At least those guys are trying out here.
That's what I'm saying.
After successfully doing that, I then looked around our home for now, and pretty much everything is broken. So this brings us to stage 1 of the platinum trophy. Simply exploring and building basic equipment, aiming at 2 trophies that are sort of the beginner milestones. Diving for the first time, which I would get right here upon just dipping my feetsies in the water below, and then the second one we are aiming at is from building the sea moth. The sea moth is the very first vehicle you can get in this game. It's also the best in my opinion, just because it's so easy to use opposed to the Cyclops and prawn suit that are far later in the game. So the goal of any beginning Subnautica playthrough is to initially fix the pod we came in, but to do that you obviously need to get some basic materials, and grabbing metal scrap around the pod is my best advice in getting titanium, because every scrap is equal to 4 titanium, and it's just far faster to do that than grabbing outcrops on the sides, or even far later just drilling with the prawn suit. The scrap method truly is goated. So yeah, like I was saying, this part of the game is just the mass looting part. There is an overall goal, but you're also just really trying to gather stuff to get a foothold on living. I also did get pretty lucky and I found some cave sulfur right away, which is a bit of an annoying material to find sometimes, just because it's typically hidden in caves and an exploding enemy comes out of its deposit at you. So if you're not careful, you might end up like this. Now after looting more, they returned back to the pod. I made my numerous titanium from the scrap. I also crafted a new oxygen tank because the standard 45 from our god-given lungs is just not gonna do. I then spotted the repair tool, which is my next objective, because again, we gotta fix the pod, and that's done with the repair tool. Thankfully, it's craftable off spawn and it doesn't require any scanning. I was also only missing silicone rubber, which is a very easy material to get. You're from harvesting creep vine seed clusters, which glow bright yellow, and even if you're blind, you can't miss it. I then returned back, made myself the silicone rubber, and then the repair tool, and our pod was then back to ship shape. After that, I then made some fins for better movement, and also the scanner so I can go scan blueprints scattered in shipwrecks, parts, and pieces. Starting first with trying to get the Sea Glide. The Sea Glide is a very good traversal tool, and it's not really a vehicle because you don't sit on it, rather it just sort of drags you at high speeds. It probably feels very weird on your nutsack, to be honest, now that I think about it. Like you're literally being dragged through the water, just a thought. I would end up finding all the blueprints I needed very quick, however, because the Sea Glide is just a 2 blueprint item. Also, they are positioned right below your pod because that's just the game being nice to us. And I even nearly had enough materials already to make it. However, I was missing lubricant. It's always the lube, isn't it? Everything reminds me of her.
Oh my god!
Anyways, this also is just made from creepvine samples. So after swimming over, grabbing some, and returning, I got myself the Sea Glide. And now that I have the Sea Glide, we can begin to really explore around our pod. Previously, it was a bit annoying because of how slow we travel, but that is no longer an issue. So the first thing I did was travel over to the red grass biome. This is called the Grassy Plateau, and it has a load of shipwrecks all over it. Now by these and in them are blueprints galore. I would end up finding both the sea moth and the laser cutter fragments here. Now the laser cutter we also do need for many trophies you have to cut into areas. Specifically the Aurora ship so we can fix its reactor and stop radiation from poisoning the world. And also you just need the laser cutter to get into other shipwrecks for other very useful blueprints later on. Oh yeah, I also forgot that this is still very early in the game and I didn't check my oxygen, so I ended up drowning. Rookie mistake. I promise I had beaten this game multiple times despite it not looking like it. My bad.
No, you're
So after dying, I was a little bit annoyed and I tried to gather some materials for the upgraded oxygen tank. While doing this, I also found my first MOA vehicle bay fragments, which are also needed to craft the sea moth because that's where you actually make it. I also found the propulsion cannon fragments, which unlock that gun for me. This also is a needed tool just to move some boxes on the Aurora ship a little bit later. Anyways, then returned to the pod. I made the high capacity tank and also the rebreather, which makes our oxygen last even longer. Now for the next 30 minutes, I swim around just trying to get more blueprints like I've been doing. All in all, I found enough for numerous things, but in particular, the laser cutter, the mobile vehicle bay, and the sea moth, which are the big 3 ones I've been after. I then made the mobile vehicle bay, and also finally the sea moth getting that trophy pop finally. So that finishes off stage 1 to the Subnautica Platinum, and we are officially out of the intro stage, I guess you could say. So stage 2 is then to build our base and find the first island of the game, both of which are fairly simple and easy. Now first I did begin with the base because I felt like it would be the best course of action so I could have a more stable return point opposed to my pod. And to get the base trophy itself, you need to first make any sort of compartment. I didn't have the multi-purpose one yet because you get that on the first island, so I just went with a standard basic tube. You then have to power it, and I always just use these solar panels because they are the easiest. And finally, you need to throw a hatch on that sucker to make it have an entrance and an exit. Once doing all of those and placing the hatch, the trophy then pops and you don't even have to enter it for it to do so. Now before moving on to the first island trophy, I real fast made a moon pool for my base, which is one of the more cool base building things in this game. Essentially, this lets you park the sea moth or prawn suit inside your base, and you can upgrade it there, charge it, repair it, etc. It's very, very cool. So after I did that, I then made my way to the first island. Oh, but I almost forgot the aurora also exploded. So yeah, it's dire times now, and radiation is everywhere when closer to the ship. But back to the first island, you can find this island either by waiting for a radio transmission talking about it, or by just looking southwest from the pod and seeing this cloud that does not move. And it's also on the horizon, which, you know, that's not how clouds work, but okay. Now this is also how you find a few islands in this game if you were wondering. But then you just travel over there, and upon arriving, the trophy itself will not just pop by landing on solid ground. Instead, you need to actually go explore it and find a certain blueprint / PDA within the island. And I would also recommend just fully exploring it anyways because, you know, it's fun. Something about the liminal space of these islands makes even just a few scraps of civilization really matter and fascinate the mind. I think to myself, who could have lived here? How many lads and lassies resided? And were they subscribed to the Its Ilusion YouTube channel like you should right now? Alright, sorry, shameful sellout, I know. But I ended up finally finding the blueprint for the trophy, which was actually a PDA. Sorry, I just kind of generalized those into blueprints because they sometimes do unlock things. And that's stage 2 finished with. So stage 3, finding more bases, repairing the aurora, and preparing to go deeper into this dangerous as ever oceanic world. Now there's 5 trophies in this stage, making it the longest of any in the game in terms of trophies. And the first of these that I did was by going to the aurora and fixing it to both stop the radiation and also unlock a multitude of very useful blueprints that we will need all the way up until the very end of the game. And I just realized why so many people were laughing at me in my previous video on this game ages ago, because in my PS5 playthrough I did for fun way back then, I literally did everything in the game despite fixing the reactor. I beat the entire game, which is very funny. So yeah, I see why that's comical now, and I must have just been an idiot back then. But anyways, to get ready to go to the aurora, you need to bring the laser cutter, propulsion gun, some food and water if you wish, and maybe an extra fire extinguisher. Oh yeah, and you have to have the radiation suit equipped by now, because if you don't, you're gonna get fried trying to get there. Thankfully, I didn't have any issues with the Reaper Leviathans. I actually didn't get grabbed by a single one throughout my entire playthrough. It's safe to say after years of playing this game and getting abused, I have learned to not meddle with them. Unfortunately though, I actually didn't have the propulsion gun unlocked and I was still missing a part of its blueprint. But thankfully the Aurora has one you can scan right away when going onto it. So I did have to make 2 trips, with my first one being to unlock it. I then returned back to my base, crafted it, and then I headed back to actually do everything you can here. Now there's a lot that you need on the ship, whether it's the prawn suit fragments, the Neptune launch platform, etc. But to actually get the trophy from this place, you have to go all the way to the drive room and fix the drive core. Now this is done very easily despite it sounding quite scary. All you need to fix it is the repair tool. Then just go around the room and look for any cracks and breaks in the drive core. You can tell they are broken by the sparks flying out, and every time you fix one, it updates you with how many are left. After reaching 0, it's all fixed up and the trophy will pop immediately. I then did a little bit more exploring here just out of my own curiosity, and then I did dip and head back to the base. So the next trophy I chased after was called Follow the Degasi, from finding the Degasi habitat in the Jelly Shroom Caves. And this one also will eventually be pinged on your game from a radio message in the future, I believe. I honestly don't remember, or I'm getting this and the other Degasi habitat confused. I'm not totally sure, but you can find the entrance to it in the grassy plateau in this big cutaway cave that goes very deep into the Jelly Shroom Caves. And getting into those caves is very straightforward in finding the base. However, again, once you do get there, you have to find a certain PDA/blueprint within it to trigger the trophy pop. I also nearly died in the process because maneuvering some of these underwater bases is quite literally cancer. Your character will often clip into a wall and just get stuck. Then again, this is also the PS4 version of the game, so it's not as smooth as the further released ones. But I did manage to go all the way up this ladder and find the PDA I needed for the trophy to pop right here, and it did easily. I then returned back home and made it my goal to upgrade the Sea Moth's depth module as much as I could right now, because the next habitat is a bit deeper in the world and we don't want to be all the way down there butt-ass naked. So I ended up getting the 500 depth module, which is just Mark II for the Seamoth. And this isn't any crazy sort of depth in hindsight because we do need to end up going like 1400 meters deep by the end of the game. But for now, this will do. And I correct myself because this next habitat is the one that gets marked, and it's in the deep Grand Reef. So deep, as a matter of fact, that I still couldn't take the Seamoth all the way down to it despite it having a 500 meter depth limit, because the habitat was positioned exactly at 500 meters and a little bit below that. But while I was exploring it, I found a ton of very good items, including the Cyclops shield generator, which we need for multiple things later on. However, I again would get caught on a hatch trying to desperately claw back to my Seamoth for oxygen, and I drowned once again. Now this is like the worst case scenario because now I've lost my Seamoth and I had to make the long and very scary naked swim all the way back and down without drowning. Thankfully, nothing got my ball sack, and I was able to swim all the way back down without dying once more. Oh yeah, and the enemies here are very annoying. They're like these giant squids that screech and just want to f you. My Seamoth nearly broke on me as well, but I saved it, don't worry. Anyways, I then finally made it to the PDA that I needed, which again was just at the tippy top of this place, all hidden away. After grabbing it, the trophy then popped finally. Anyways, then I headed back to the home base. I spent a little while grabbing some more upgrades for my next few endeavors, but all in all, the next trophy I got was another island trophy, and it's also far easier than the last two bases I had to visit, because we are headed to the Enforcement Platform, an infamous location in this game due to something that happens a little bit later in the story. However, this island can be reached either by, again, a radio waypoint much later in the game, or by just looking north/northeast at, again, another very big cloud on the horizon. Simply just travel there, and it's also not that far away. It appears in your view distance pretty early, so it's honestly very hard to miss. Now again, after arriving, the trophy does not pop right away. Instead, however, you just have to enter the place with a purple tablet and then run around for a bit, going deeper and deeper, and it should unlock eventually. I'm not really sure what makes it unlock. You don't need to grab anything, it just sort of pops, so yeah, there it is. Now while here, you also can interact with the mechanism that spits out a robot arm of sorts with a needle that stabs us. Now this is how we shut down the planet's defense system, because this island is actually just a massive alien gun. Yeah, we are inside of a gun right now that shoots down any sort of outside ships and contact. But we have also gathered an infection from this planet, so we can't pass its test until we cure that. This all makes more sense later on, but right now we have done everything we can. Also, at this point, they did also upgrade my Seamoth to 900 depth crushing limit, which is the max and also very good because we can get all the way down to the Lost River, which is where I headed to next. This trophy is also a part of Stage 4, which is where I'm at now. I didn't do that last trophy in Stage 3 from hatching a cuttlefish quite yet, just because you actually get the egg for that in the Lost River. So welcome to Stage 4, finding the disease research facility and building the Cyclops and the prawn suit. First, you of course go to the Lost River, which is where the disease research facility is at. Now it's actually very easy to get to this place. Simply go back to the Dagazi habitat in the Grand Reef. You should have a radio marker on that by now, and then go down to the place. Once inside this area, you'll see a very ominous opening going deeper and deeper to the right, and just follow that. But you have to make sure you hug the right side because this path to the facility is on the right side of the Lost River tunnel. Now there also is a lot of enemy threats down here, so be careful. But once you spot the alien pillars, you've pretty much made it, and you just have to pivot further right. It's pretty hard to miss. And then you'll come across the facility. The trophy also will pop again from just entering it, much like the previous alien base we just visited. Now I'm not gonna lie, I was very lost when going to this place. I'm not sure if I was just scared or distracted, but I ended up losing track of my Seamoth. And that's because somehow I unchecked its marker on the game, meaning it didn't have a marker showing me where it was, and yeah, I'm just blind, straight up, yo. Sorry, I've been watching Breaking Bad. So yeah, I died multiple times trying to find it, but I had a very good save right down here, so resetting it just threw me back in basically where I died at. Eventually, my brain cells sent signals to my thinking area, and I ended up finding the Seamoth. It was sitting right in front of me. Anyways, that was it for this place. I'm actually not sure if there was anything in there that we really needed. I think that location was more of just a lure into what's happening. So I then returned back to the base to begin the grindiest part, or actually, I guess the second grindiest part of this game, building the Cyclops and the prawn suit. Both require an absolutely absurd amount of materials, blueprints, and yeah, this is where the bulk of my time spent platinuming this game was at. So for the next hour straight, I just pinned what I needed and I chased down material after material, ending up making the Cyclops first and getting that trophy. And then about 10 minutes later, I made the prawn suit, also getting that trophy pop. Now we are done grinding, however, because now we need to get upgrades for both of those. Since we are basically in the end game now, we need to make it very, very, very deep. And you have to upgrade both the prawn suit and Cyclops to depth module 2. I guess the prawn suit is just depth module 1 because there is only 2 total, but then you also want to bring extra materials with you because once you reach around 1200 meters down, down, you can find kyanite, which is the hardest material in the game to get since it's only in the lava area. But once you do get that, you can upgrade the Cyclops and Prawn Suit while down there in the depths to their max to be able to reach the ending area of the game. Now I'm getting very ahead of myself, so my apologies. But first I just upgraded my suit and a few other tools because I had the radiation suit still, and yeah, it's just not good. We also don't need that. So I just real fast ran around doing all those upgrades. You don't need these, it just makes it far easier to play the game in the ending areas. I then pinned the death modules I needed, and while doing that I also stopped to hatch my cuttlefish I got forever ago but forgot about. Sorry little guy. And once releasing him into the world, I got that trophy pop. So that's officially stages 3 and 4 finished with. So now it's time for stage 5. Obtaining kyanite, exploring beyond 1300 meters, and curing the infection. All of these trophies are related to beating the game essentially. Again, the only real grind here is just getting the materials for the depth modules. I also did get the drill arm and grapple arm for the prawn suit just to make it easier to use that thing. I also think if you don't get the grapple arm, you can't really use the prawn suit while down in the lava area, so it's pretty much a requirement. But all in all, I spent 2 hours grinding to set myself up to pretty much finish the game off. And while doing this, the Sunbeam, which was a ship sent to rescue us, also did show up, and I didn't even bother to go see what happens to it because I've already seen it like 10 times. All in all, it just gets shot down and blown to pieces by that alien gun thing we visited earlier, so rest in peace. It was a valiant effort. Anyways, fast forward to going to the depths of the lava zone. Like I said, once reaching around 1200 meters, you find kyanite for the first time, and I mined all that I needed right now to make both of the depth upgrades. I then did that, and we were set off to find the final 2 areas of the game. First being the thermal plant, which is a bit hidden inside this massive lava structure, but just keep on rotating it until you see a green glow or opening. Then once inside, just travel down as far as you can, and you'll find the path to the actual thermal plant. Once inside, you absolutely have to search it deeply to find all the required blueprints. Most importantly, the blue tablet and also the ion power cells. Now I would miss the ion power cells, which put a massive wrench in my end game, but for now it's not a problem, I guess. Also, here's that trophy from finding the thermal plant, by the way. So after leaving the thermal plant, I then took the prawn suit even further down until finding a massive lava lake. Now there is numerous ways to fall down into this area, so once you find a gaping hole, just drop down it and you'll eventually end up here. And then you make your way as fast as you can into the facility. A giant enemy is down here called the Sea Dragon Leviathan, but as long as you skedaddle fast through the lake, you shouldn't have any issues. Now the trophy for this place will not pop until you make it to the alien containment room. Long story short, some other alien civilization came here ages ago, and they imprisoned the Mama Leviathan, who really did nothing wrong and is actually very passive. Her presence alone makes hostile creatures calm, but in her prison, once swimming towards her dormant eggs, trophy will pop. And this then sets us up for the cure for our own infection. After chatting with the Mama Leviathan, she eventually gives us a blueprint for the hatching enzymes she needs for her eggs to hatch. And the enzymes themselves just require various plant samples from around the various biomes of the game. Now when seeing this, don't be annoyed at having to backtrack forever to get these, because there is numerous portals in this facility that take you right to the respectable biomes, and you just have to go through each of them, grab the sample, then head back. Once gathering them all, it's also advised to go to the mushroom forest portal and take the prawn suit through it to leave it as a waypoint, then use the sea glide to get back to the base to make the hatching enzyme, and then just take the sea moth back over there. This is all just to speed up traveling back and forth if you're wondering. Now once having that enzyme, just bring it and use it on the eggs. The little babies will be all hatched, and we will essentially finish the prophecy and the life goal that this poor Mama Leviathan has had for eons. And in doing so, she then rewards us with our cure to the infection. And you get it by just swinging to one of the floating transparent things. It then absorbs directly into us, and we are now cured, getting the optimal health trophy pop. So with that finished, we have completed stage 5. And we are now onto the final stage of the game. Stage 6, building the Neptune escape rocket and leaving the planet. The final goal for us is to now leave. Because we have been cured, we can now shut down the alien gun defending our planet and escape via a rocket to meet our friends in space who have a ship nearby ready to catch us. Now that sounds very easy, however it isn't, because getting the materials to build a rocket ship is not simple, and this is by far the grindiest part of the game. I spent another 2, almost 3 hours grabbing all the materials for this. I had to take countless trips around every biome. I had to go way back and find that fucking blueprint I missed, and overall it was just a damn mess. I also had a very rough time doing this because I was recording for like 11 hours straight. Yes, I did this entire video in one sitting. I'm gonna have a stroke at some point in my later years from this shit. But all in all, I did make the rocket, I shut down the alien gun, and also I set up the time capsule for that trophy. So whoever finds this, you're welcome for the materials, and I named it Seaman Lover, so shout out. I then launched the rocket, getting the trophy pop from that, and the time capsule, and finally the Subnautica Platinum Trophy. The rocket then launched up and up and up. Some issues entering orbit happened, but we were fine overall. One last mysterious convo with Mama Bear happened, and then it flashed to white and the credits rolled. So that was the Subnautica Platinum Platinum Trophy experience. I genuinely don't know of any other survival game quite like this one that's just so perfect all around. The game series has mastered the art of survival horror, and yeah, it's just perfect. I can't wait to play Subnautica 2 in a few days, and if you guys do enjoy this, I might make a video on it, but I'll definitely be playing it regardless. So yeah, that's all. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, boys.